Welcome to the Dome Discussions Podcast. Your top source for all things New Orleans Saints. Powered by four voices who live and breathe black and gold. Touchdown! Every hit, every play.
Welcome to the NFL.
Every moment. We've got it covered.
Let's go! Let's go! Go!
What's going on, Who Dat Nation? Appreciate everybody tuning in to episode 48 of the Dome Discussions podcast, brought to you by Be in the Know Network. I am your host, Kyle Besson, today joined by Drew Collins and Caleb Yacarino, and we have a huge topic to talk about today. Drake London just got paid, and that makes Chris Olave more expensive, right? We were talking about the Garrett Wilson contract and how Olave, same draft class, has to get paid as much, if not more, than Garrett Wilson. That's just how the market works. And Drake London went up and upped it by a couple million. So Olave is now so Drake London's making $35 million a year. Garrett Wilson was either 32 or 33 million. It was around that mark. Chris Olave, an NFC South rival wide receiver, you can't pay your guy less than your rival just paid their guy. Same draft class, all that. That's just not how it works. Olave just got more expensive. What can you guys tell me about this, and maybe give me your prediction on what Olave extension looks like?
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying that it happened right now and that the Saints couldn't get the jump on it, because it will just drive up the price a little bit. Now, that being said, I don't think it'll be anything crazy. Like, I don't think the Saints are going to pay him $40 million or anything like that, because that's just a little too much. But it definitely puts some competition and puts some pressure on the Saints to give him that contract offer, or something else is going to happen. So I'll be interested to see kind of how it goes. I think Olave is going to hit just north of 35 million at this point, maybe like 36 or something like that, just to get him above Drake London. So that's my prediction. I'm not entirely sure where it's going to play out, but it's just unfortunate that he got that offer. Good for London, but yeah, that's going to drive Olave's price up a lot.
Yeah, I think the Saints made a bet and lost. I really did not. I don't think they expected Drake London to get that contract, because, I think many believe that Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson are better than Drake London, even though that he was drafted higher in their draft class. I don't think anyone expected him to get that much. Again, we don't really know the breakdown of the deal, but just looking at what it is, it being 35 mil is a lot. And again, we don't know the breakdown. There could be accelerators, there could be a bunch of different things. But I also think with it being an NFC South rival, you have to pay your star wide receiver more than your NFC South rival, and the biggest NFC South rival. This isn't like the Buccaneers paying someone and then you're like, do we really have to? No, this is the Falcons. You need to one up them. Now I do think they could be the petty one up, where it's like, okay, Drake London made $35.25 million, so pay Chris Olave $35.3 million and just one up them and make Chris Olave paid a little higher. And hey, maybe that's kind of like the agent number, where on social media you see that number and it's like, but there's injury kind of things in the contract because Chris Olave's injury history. A contract like that, I wouldn't mind. I think Chris Olave deserves it. And I could also see that Chris Olave's agent kind of said, like, hey, we have a number. Let's stick with it until Drake London gets his contract, honestly. I mean, agents know that. So waiting this long, I don't think – it could be the Saints wanting to wait this long and losing a bet, but it could also just be the agent wanting to wait.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little before the show started, right? Now the Saints are really on the clock because Puka Nacua is going to get paid, and he's going to get paid heavy. And I don't think Olave is going to get paid more than Puka will. It's just not the same mold of wide receiver. And, Puka has had ultra productive seasons, and Olave's been productive. He's been more productive than Drake London over the 4 years that they've both played. Again, they're kind of neck and neck on there with injuries and things calculated into it. But what I'm worried for the Olave contract is, right, Olave is going to get paid. I mean, that's top 3 wide receiver money, okay? Drake London is the 3rd highest per year basis wide receiver paid. This JSN and Jamar Chase. Yeah, and the Saints just drafted Jordan Tyson, so it's like who's winning this leverage battle? And for what we see, it's a very ethical battle here, right? Olave's still showing up to OTAs. Now, if he shows up to training camp, I don't know, and honestly, I wouldn't expect him to. That's this is Drake London just got paid. Your NFC South rival wide receiver. Now it's time for you to get paid, and he's probably not going to show up to training camp. But I don't know, right? I don't know. Let me say, I don't know. He is present for OTAs, and talks can be going on in the building. We know they have been working on this for a while, but like you said, they tried beating, or they took a bet and Drake London got paid. So now the Saints are on the back end, and they're probably using the Tyson pick now as leverage. We can't pay you this much. We have this guy thing. So, I don't think it'll get ugly, but I do think Drake London really accelerates that. And Puka can only make it worse because now we're talking about who's going to reset the market. I mean, look at JSN, right? We're talking about these division rival guys. JSN's 42 million. Does that mean Puka Nacua? How much does he get? He's probably going to get more than JSN, again, for what we're talking about. And, this guy is going to reset the market.
Yeah, Kyle. Or you go.
Okay, am I lagging a lot? Is that what you're saying? Because
a little bit, but it's fine.
Yeah, I can see you guys freezing on my screen a little bit. But for me, I'm real worried about waiting on Puka to get paid and such, and then this eventually turning ugly. I don't think it will. My prediction when Garrett Wilson got packed was Olave would get 3 years, 100 million. And that number's definitely changed now. Now I think it's got to be a 4-year deal. It can't be 3-year anymore, and it has to beat out Drake London. That's simply just what I believe.
Yeah, I love your point about the Jordan Tyson pick being a significant factor in this because it just 100% is. If this conversation happened last year, I think we'd be in an entirely different spot because at that point, Olave was the option. You had Rashid Shaheed, but he was still kind of viewed as more of a special teams ace rather than a primary wide receiver. So now that you have a future, what some people say future superstar, someone who looks like they could ascend to being one of the top receivers in the NFL, you've got to factor that in for the Saints side. And it's going to be a point that they're undoubtedly using a lot in these conversations. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But I also wanted to give a shout out to Drake London's agent because that is some impeccable work by him. Like we can say what we want to say about Drake London himself and the Falcons, but that agent put in work and he got his guy paid.
Yeah, and then also with the Jordan Tyson conversation, like the Saints are set up for a pretty good, a pretty good setup, but because Chris Olave's contract is going to be 4 years, so that's going to be, let's say when he signs the contract extension, that's 5 years left, including this season. Jordan Tyson also has 5 years if you are just assuming they pick up his 5th-year option. So I'm not too hurt by paying Chris Olave so much because you're not going to have to pay Jordan Tyson until Chris Olave is probably not going to be on the team anymore, just from an age perspective. Because he's 25 right now, I think. So if he's 25, he's going to be 30 at that time, and then you could really kind of tell, hey, Chris Olave has fallen off. His play has fallen off a little bit, or you do a 2-year extension or something like that. But it's not going to be as expensive anymore. And your cap is fixed right now. And yeah, you're going to, during that Chris Olave contract, you're going to have to pay Tyler Shuck, which that's definitely the worry, but maybe you move on from him. And that's far in the future. So much can change. But that's kind of that thought process right now where, okay, if you pay Chris Olave right now, I really don't care how much you pay him, but don't go over that Jamar Chase and JSN spot. Just don't touch that. Go right under.
Yeah, and I just pulled up the numbers. It's especially for Olave's case, big for him, the way he ended the season. The bond he created with Tyler Shuck. I'm looking at it. Over his last 3 games, he finished against the Titans, he went 119 yards and a touchdown. Against the Jets, he went 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then against the Panthers, he had his 85 yards and a touchdown. Ended the last 3 games of the season for him, 4 touchdowns. And then when he wasn't on the field against the Falcons, you felt that. You saw it. Again, they have another guy. They went and revamped the entire wide receiver room. But when Olave's not on the field, you feel that he is a star. Maybe we won't give him that superstar label right now, but he is a star. He's proved it. There was a lot of talk the year before about, can he hold up this, that, injury stuff? But you gave him a quarterback, and he showed you what he can do. And now everybody believes in Chris Olave. They got a lot of Chris Olave truthers out there right now. Fantasy football guys love Chris Olave, right? That's just what he's become. He's become that guy. And now it's time to pay him, right? You have to pay him this season, or you risk losing him next season. And that's why, again, with Puka, because Puka wasn't a first-round pick, he's up for a contract as well. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to reach I don't think he's going to be the highest paid wide receiver. I don't think he's going to beat Jamar Chase or JSN. I think it's a competition here, specifically with Drake London. I think he's going to have to get paid more than Drake London. And I just hope the Saints do this before Puka resets that market. But no matter what, I like what you said, right? They pay Olave now, and it doesn't really factor in when you have to pay Tyson. But between all of that, Tyler Shuck was a second-round pick. So after not the season coming up, but the season after that, Tyler Shuck shows you what you need to see. You got to start working on paying Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that. And that's why the Alvin Kamara discussions do get important, because it's not all just about how much money Alvin Kamara is getting paid this season. And we'll get into that. But, how much he's getting paid next season and stuff. So this is kind of where we're not wanting to pay these older guys as much anymore factors in. But I think Olave, I'm just going to give a prediction out there because – it's fun to get predictions, and when you're right, you get to say I was right. When you're wrong, get to say, well, that was just a guess.
You don't talk about it.
Yeah, you just don't bring it up.
I do like the petty. I like the pettiness. I think it's going to be a bit of a petty. Chris Olave makes 0.01 more than Drake London. So I'm just going to say Drake London's making $35.25 million. Chris Olave, 35.26. I'm going with the pettiness over 4 years. I think ultimately I would love if it was just the simple $1 more. That's fun. But
Saints
I'll go
Twitter
with
would. Saints Twitter would love that.
But I'll go for the 4 years. So I think it's still 141 mil 4 year. I'd say 142 mil over 4 years. That's my prediction for the Olave contract.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I would love to do that.
Do it petty, do it against the Falcons, and make him a little higher paid, because you have to. At this point, it's going to.
Yeah.
It feels like a disservice, especially with the he built. The thing with the Falcons, they don't have a quarterback right now, or they got two quarterbacks.
They got two quarterbacks right now.
But they don't have a quarterback. If you have a quarterback, you have to get your quarterback that guy. Chris Olave is proven to be that guy, and then hopefully Tyson will also show to be another. But let's go ahead and move on, talk about Alvin Kamara, because Alvin Kamara made a surprise debut at OTAs, something he has not done, if at all in his career. It was early on in his career. He hasn't done it in recent years. He's usually absent for OTAs. An interesting storyline that he shows up to OTAs this time around with all the discourse around his name. Is Kamara going to be a Saint going into next year? And we talked about this last podcast. My guess was I think Chris Olave gets to finish his contract with the Saints. Obviously, there's going to have to be some contract work done there just because, like we talked about, you can't always pay your older guys and such. But again, look, Kamara showed up, and what he said is it was 10 o'clock. He was like, man, let me book a flight and go be with my guys. And that's what he was there. And he was joking with them, and it looked great. The Saints Twitter posted a lot about him. Kellen Moore said they're happy to see him. And it goes with a lot of what I said last, where I feel like this is all a lot. Now, look, there's a business side of it, but this is all blown out of proportions. As of right now, both of these guys are like, hey, we're preparing to go into the season together. If something comes up, if the Saints feel like they need to make a move or they just can't get to the number, then maybe something happens. But as of right now, Alvin Kamara is a Saint. Alvin Kamara wants to be a Saint. And I know they haven't reinforced it, but from what I'm seeing, the Saints are happy Alvin Kamara is a Saint as well.
I'd be shocked if he wasn't a Saint this year, especially after this. Kamara hasn't done OTAs in the recent past. It's because he didn't have to. When you have a star running back, what's OTAs going to do for you if you're a veteran? But now when he's got a lot of questions, when everyone in the media is saying, where's his next spot? He's not going to be on the Saints. Going there, going to New Orleans, being there, and silencing the critics is one of the best things he can do and something that he needed to be at. So, I mean, this is just very encouraging. I think they're going to get a deal done with Kamara. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but it's going to be something that'll keep him on the team for the rest of his career. And that's kind of what they want. Even if he isn't the same player he was in the field a couple of years ago, he's going to be an amazing mentor. He's going to be an amazing locker room presence, and he's just someone that you need. So I don't really care what it does. Just get the deal done. Both sides want to be a Saint. There's no reason you really can't. I'm expecting this to be done pretty soon with very little conflict.
Yeah, when I saw the notification that Alvin Kamara was at OTAs, I kind of was just in shock because obviously we don't see that, and my first thought was what a power play, because I mean this whole offseason, the Alvin Kamara, probably the Chris Olave contract and the Alvin Kamara conversation, and let's say Cam Jordan also, have been the main topics that have not been fixed yet, and it has always been how Mickey Loomis and Kellen Moore have just not committed to the idea of having Alvin Kamara on the roster. Like, yes, they said they kind of said, okay, if he is great, wonderful. But like that door has always been open that something might happen where he is no longer on the team. It has always been open. But Alvin Kamara has said also the whole offseason that he's looking forward to next season with the Saints. He's looking forward to being on the team, looking forward to doing great things with Tyler Shuck and everything. And then his agent came out recently and said the same thing. We fully expect to be in New Orleans next season. We fully expect to be with the Saints. And it was a simple statement. Then he shows up and really shows like, I am with the Saints. Because what are the coaches and what are the front office going to do? Can't do anything about that. You're not going to lock him out, even if you haven't made a decision. Like, yeah, if you made a decision, the Jamal Adams meme where he goes in the Jets practice facility and can't get in. Like, no, you're not going to do that. So this is the ultimate power play because there were so many videos of him having a great time with teammates. I mean, I saw him and Brandon Staley share a hug for 5 minutes, and it was like, okay, the coaches love him. How are you not going to keep him now? I don't know how you can't keep him because, and honestly, even if a contract isn't fixed, like I don't know how you either release him, force him into retirement or trade him. Like I now, not even like team building wise, I'm talking about psychologically, I'm talking about chemistry and culture. There's no way you could now move on from Alvin Kamara, in my opinion. You just can't do it.
One of the things that like I want to bring up, and I'm only bringing this up because this is what kind of started this whole thing, is the Tyrann Mathieu podcast. And a lot of the thing was he's referring to people in the front office. Some people in the front office are like, they're upset at Kamara for the firing of Dennis Allen, such like that. Okay, let's say that's true. These guys are upset about the fact that he got Dennis Allen fired. But then we look about like the Kellen Moore being not so committal to it, right? That Kellen Moore understands a business like that. But this is a brand new coaching staff. So, hey, let's say, I don't know, it's Mickey Loomis. And I don't know the answers. I don't know who's upset with who. I'm obviously not in that locker room. I'm 5'8". I'm never being in that locker room. Shout out to Tyrann Mathieu, though. But, I'm not in that locker room. I wasn't in that locker room when this stuff happened. But it's a brand new coaching staff, right? Kellen Moore is just playing the system. His answering not being committal is because he understands that he doesn't have the full control of this roster building. But it sounds like Kellen Moore wants Kamara in the system. And now it's up to, Mickey Loomis to make up his mind and, how they feel about him getting. But this is a guy that fully backs Kellen Moore. But Kellen Moore backs Kamara. He just can't commit to him. So I don't even see the relevance of, hey, AK, some guys in the front office aren't happy about the fact that Dennis Allen was hired. Now your team's got a future, right? Dennis Allen's fired, and now your team has a direction. You guys have hope. Your fans are behind your head coach every part of the way, and that just wasn't the same with Dennis Allen. So I don't see how that can be true in this situation. Maybe there was guys, right? And there was guys in the locker room. Maybe Mario Davis. We know they weren't as happy about Dennis Allen getting fired. We know Cam Jordan wasn't as happy with Dennis. These defensive guys loved him. But at the same time, look at what this team has become. Look at how these players rally behind Kellen Moore. It's a whole different team. So looking at the Kamara situation, I don't believe there's actually any like internal, like, let's get AK out of here because this or that. AK solely to me, this is a contract thing. He's getting paid a lot of money. He's not going to put up the production for what he's getting paid. dealt with injury. He's older. He doesn't have that same burst as he once did. We've seen him perform, in his late years and such, but he's not going to put up the production for what he's getting paid right now, and he's not going to get that role either. He's running back 2 now. So this is purely a let's keep this guy who's a leader, and AK's probably still, look, he came in OTAs for the first time ever, put an end to a narrative and said, I want to be here. That guy is going to earn a captain role. Running back 2, running back 1, he's going to earn that captain role. At least I believe he will. He earned it for the first time a couple years ago, and a lot of those same guys. So AK is going to be a captain. He's going to be like that. This is all just a team chemistry thing. I know there's a price that you put on that. I believe there's going to be a contract that's signed to fix that. Before we end the segment, I kind of want to go back into one thing, and I talked about it, but I agree with you, Caleb. This guy showed up. He took an initiative, put a point down to something, and you brought up that hug he had with Brandon Staley and such. This is a guy that wants to be a Saint, has shown you everything that he wants to be a Saint. I'm sure is going to work with you somewhat in a contract. He's not going to undercut himself a lot, and I understand that. Everybody understands that. But this is a guy that has proven, put initiative to something and said, I want to be here. I want to help this team compete.
Yeah, I think I've kind of thrown the Tyrann Mathieu story kind of out of my thought process with this for a while, because when people kind of bring that up as the main reason why the Saints don't want him, I kind of, again, don't really listen. But when people bring up, hey, they want to fix the contract because, again, Alvin Kamara is a $16 million cap hit next year when his contract voids. That needs to be fixed. That cannot happen because the Saints need as much cap space as possible next season or off season. So that can't happen. That needs to be fixed. If someone says, okay, they would rather move on from him and he won't fix that, but they get something in return. That's different. I'm okay with that. But if you're saying, and then also if they say people are kind of worried about his play on the field, because let's be real, it wasn't the same old Alvin Kamara last season. He was missing blocks. And there was just overall blocking issues. There were drop issues. There were so many different times where it almost was a lapse of, not lapse of judgment, but just kind of not focused at times, which isn't what normally happens. And again, he was dealing with injuries all last season that we saw. I think it was 4 years ago that he was dealing with an injury all season, and everyone's like, oh my God, is this the end of Alvin Kamara? And then he came back and he was insane. So it's kind of, if people say that's also a reason why the Saints want to move off from him, okay, fine. But if they want to say that internal war happening, I kind of don't listen to that as much. But again, I think contract's going to be fixed. I mean, we've seen Alvin Kamara's contracts go into training camp and it get fixed, and everything's good in the end. I think it is just also it is good that he's on the roster. Him and Travis Etienne is going to be a great duo. And if an injury occurs, okay, one of them can be the sole running back 1, and then another person come in for running back 2. I saw that look. Mm-hmm. But they're in a good spot with Alvin Kamara on the roster. Again, I just want that contract fixed for 2020, that 2027 cap hit. That's all I care about at this point with Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, and at this point, it's fully on. It's going to be a pay cut, right? Yeah, I mean, they're not going to play these numbers where they push anything more into the future. I don't believe it. It's fully on. Hey, we need you to take less money this time around. But I mentioned earlier that I want to refer to something I talked about terrible voice crack, last episode, and that was the idea, and the contract idea that Cameron Jordan signed when he signed it with the Saints last. Alvin Kamara referred to it as, a final contract, a last ride, the tour. And when Cameron Jordan's contract came up, that was supposed to be his retirement. Again, don't blame him for feeling good and such. And if he wants to continue to play. But the Saints gave him that contract. So what it sounds like to me, though, is Alvin Kamara, every bit of him said, well, I want that contract as well. And at the end of the day, that contract ends next season. So for me, Alvin Kamara is looking at this as his last season. This is only there's no confirmation of this anything. This is only for me based off of what he said when he signed the contract. Was he wanted a deal to end end his career with the Saints, and that's when he signed the contract. So I'm only inferring that this may be Alvin Kamara's last season. He wants to finish it with the Saints, and that's what this year is going to be. And every bit of that is like, yeah, I agree with that. Let AK be a Saint to finish his career. Yes, you may be taking on a little more cap hit this year than you like, but the Saints were able to do a lot with what they wanted to. I don't see as much signings. I don't see what signings they could be going for now at this point. And it all just comes down to working on what that pay cut is. And I agree with you, Caleb. You can't pay a guy that's not on your roster $16 million next season or $14 million, whichever it is. But yeah, so I agree that it needs to be worked on, but I think Alvin Kamara deserves the chance to be on the roster one last year. And I understand it's a business. You don't go all off of emotions on things like that, right? But sometimes you need to show other players, other free agents, hey, we take care of our guys over here. And that's what I believe allowing AK to get his final year in with the Saints is.
I mean, I couldn't agree more with that. Alvin Kamara is about to turn 31 in July. Obviously, he's been in the league for a while. A lot of his best years are not behind him, but they're in the past. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if Kamara is riding it out one more year, just wants that final year with the team. And I'm with Kyle on this. The Saints should 100%. There just shouldn't be a conversation about it. Just get your guy. He's been a franchise cornerstone for the past 10 years and let him finish his career with the team.
All right, but now that we've gone over our Olave extension, our Alvin Kamara talk, we could go a little more, I guess happy, be a little more joyous to talk about what's coming ahead of us, and we could talk about position battles, things that we're looking forwards, maybe throughout OTAs, but more importantly, training camp. OTAs, you're still not going to see it as much. So kind of just go over some position battles that you guys are looking at coming up, something that you want to see, maybe a player that you want to see step up. I feel like we all kind of know Drew's answer already, especially with the last conversation. So, but you guys go ahead and tell me what you guys are looking for coming up in OTAs and training camp.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle alluded to me. I'm looking for the backup running back battle. Like, that's one of the main things I'm looking for. That and wide receiver, which someone will cover, but it's Kamara and Travis Etienne as the top two. No doubts about that, barring some crazy thing with Kamara. I mean, we just talked about him, not going to go into it. But barring something crazy, it's going to be them two at top. But if an injury happens, who's there? You've got Devin Neal, who I think should be the leader to be running back 3 and step up. I think he's going to have a breakout season. You have Kendre Miller, you have Audric Estime, Ty Chandler, CJ Donaldson. So you have some intriguing backup options. But who's going to step up and take firm grasp of that? You've seen Kendre Miller look really good in training camp in the past couple of years, but then he just can't play because of one reason or another. So will that be another trend this year? Or will Devin Neal finally step up and really take a hold of that spot and show his versatility and reliability? So I'm going to be really watching that battle. I think Devin Neal's going to win it and have a great year, but it's going to be intriguing to see kind of how Kellen Moore uses running backs and what their thought process is throughout it.
Yeah, before you go, Caleb, I just want to talk about running backs real quick. Okay, you brought up Kendre Miller. Now hear me out, okay? If you have running back 1 and running back 2 snaps with A-Chain and Kamara, doesn't that give Kendre Miller a little bit of leeway? He's got a few less reps, so the injuries, maybe not as much of a problem. To see, we know what Kendre Miller is. We've seen it. I don't believe he could be running back 1. I don't believe he can stay healthy to be running back 1. Maybe I don't believe he's healthy enough to be running back 2, but I've seen the talent that guy possesses, right? I fully think he could be a playmaker that you could utilize, take control of if he can stay healthy, and maybe taking away some of those snaps is that keep him as fresh legs, give him 7-8 snaps a game, see what he can do with that. Or I'm sorry, 7 and 8 attempts a game. Now, I don't know. That's a busy running back room back there if you do that. But I just want to see Miller kind of maybe get a chance as not the feature guy because that's usually when he got injured. The Bears game, he was the feature guy. And then, all the Dennis Allen stuff, But I want to see him finally maybe get a chance to show what he can do without being, forced to take that bell cow type of role because he I think he's shown he can't stay healthy for that. But Caleb, I'm gonna go back to you. I need to put my Kendra Miller propaganda out there.
Yeah, I was gonna also choose running back. I had a backup option, thank goodness, and Drew kind of knows what I'm gonna say, and I need to apologize to Drew for what I'm about to say. But I recently made an article of surprise cuts that could happen across the roster, and one of my picks was Devin Neal.
I'm done if that happens. Like, I'm going on this podcast ranting.
So because my thought process was, okay, last season Saints brought in 4 running backs into the season. I think that's going to be the case again. My thought process was, if Alvin Kamara does come back, which we all agreed that it looks like he's back, you have Travis Etienne, Alvin Kamara. I think Kendra Miller, if he's healthy. Like, if he's not healthy, we are in a completely different conversation. Let's say he's healthy, running back 3. I think Audric Estime can be running back 4 based off what he did at the end of the season. And I think if he has a strong preseason, that's kind of why I was choosing this battle, because, again, a healthy Kendra Miller, I think the Saints choose him no matter what. But if preseason happens, it's going to be Devin Neal. And I know there's more people in the room, but I really think it's going to be Devin Neal versus Audric Estime in preseason. Whoever does better will get that 4th spot. So I hate it. Trust me, I hate it. I want Devin Neal to be running back 2 on this team. Like, he's so good with Travis Etienne. I think that's a great duo. But I just think the group right now is kind of – there's a lot of people. And I think he get a little crazy. So off that.
I love Audric Estime, but I don't think he does anything better than Devin Neal.
No, I agree.
Like, I just don't see anything he does better as a prospect or as a player. Anything he can do. Devin Neal's got more juice. He's as good of a blocker. Devin Neal still has great power. He's more elusive. He's more reliable. Yeah, he suffered some injuries last year, but I mean, he never missed 1 game in college, or maybe he missed 1. So I think that was kind of a freak injury. So, I just don't see how that could happen. I mean, I could be a little bit blinded, but. Yeah, I'd be very, very, very surprised.
I think Devin Neal would also be on the roster, but referring to you talk about how there's 4 running backs on the roster, and we predicted this because Kellen Moore ran 4 running backs on the roster, and with the Eagles, well, could we look at it as a sense of, Taysom Hill's not on the roster anymore, and they kind of doubled him there. So, maybe Taysom's not here anymore. We run 5. Also, I mean, if your running back room is Alvin Kamara, Devin Neal, and Kendra Miller, you might need a 5th running back. Like, that is an injury. Those guys are all kind of injury. Now, Devin Neal has been not in college, but suffered a season-ending injury last season. Kendra Miller, injury-prone, AK at the latter time of his career. Injuries, right? You probably need a 5th running back. So, maybe Devin Neal doesn't get cut in that sense. I think he's. It's hard to say if he's 3 or 4. Like, is Kendra Miller actually number 3 talent-wise? I think he is. I think Kendra Miller at this point is probably number 2, right? But can he stay healthy? I don't know. So, yeah, I think Devin Neal's definitely in that conversation. I don't think he's a cut. Maybe a cut candidate, a surprise cut candidate, but I don't think he's a guy that gets cut. But it also depends how many running backs do they hold. Kickoff stuff as well. Who is it that they signed for kickoff? I hate that I'm blanking right. Ty Chandler, yeah.
Yeah.
But so you kind of got to go over it like that sense of like there's so many injuries, you kind of need a 5th running back, especially with Taysom not on the roster. But like I said, Kellen Moore has done 4, since he's been in Philly. And he last year did 4, so it kind of depends a lot on that as well. But I do agree. I think watching that battle will be entertaining because it's Kendra Miller, Devin Neal, and Audric Estime, and that's going to be in training camp and throughout preseason. And who knows who's going to be healthy enough to do that. Kendra Miller's coming off a torn ACL again, and I know it was week 6 or such, but these guys got to be healthy to compete anyway. So to see who's healthy enough to even prove themselves in preseason.
Yeah, and what my thought process was like that Taysom Hill spot, because that was on my mind. I think that's going to go to tight end because I think the tight end is going to be used a lot more, and I would not be surprised if the Saints bring in 4 instead of 3 this season. But yeah, again, Devin Neal is I would be shocked if it happened because I wouldn't like the move, but with Alvin Kamara on the roster, that possibility is now in the air, which I hate, but it's in the air.
I'm writing. I'm starting like a letter writing campaign to make him
I'd
miss.
be
Like
livid.
I'm not gonna be happy.
For how much I
Like,
wanted him to get the ball last season, no, I'll be pissed.
if that podcast happens, it is going to be it's gonna be a rant. But
it's like Rico Payton last year when I was so mad. Okay. Speaking of actually Rico Payton's position, my second backup position battle was cornerback. And I'm not even saying it like I'm more focused on the position battle itself. I'm more focused on just who is going to step up. Because last offseason, I remember it was OTAs and it was veteran minicamp, and we were talking about it and we're like, what are the corners doing? Like, it feels like the corners are struggling. No one's kind of stepping up. And Kool-Aid kind of did when we got into training camp, and it was a little bit better, but it still wasn't the best. And I can't have that happening this year. I really want this pass defense to, if there's just a guy that steps up. If it's Martin Emerson, wonderful. But at least we know that, because it's like we feel like, it seems like Jonas Sanker is now in the slot, so it's not like Quincy Riley's going to move to the inside. So now you have three guys that could kind of sub in when needed, which is a really good group. Like, that's actually a decent group. I like that group of Kool-Aid, Emerson, and Quincy Riley. Like, I do like that group, but I just want to see it in training camp. I want to see some, and in minicamp and OTAs. Like, I want to see just some positive plays from them where it doesn't look like they're getting burnt by a very good wide receiver room.
Yeah, we talked about the depth too, and that's going to be quite a thing. It's like when we watched Chase Young in OTAs, and we were like, oh my God, Chase Young's going crazy.
He's Miles Garrett. He's about to destroy everyone.
Chase Young is good, but the problem was it wasn't just so much Chase Young. There was a bit of an offensive line problem presenting itself there. But yeah, so now that you have depth versus depth, you could see a lot of good position battles and things you want to see out. And I would bring up the wide receiver room as mine, but I think we all have talked about it so much. All these guys down there, who's going to take the step up, who's going to Bryce Lance, like that's a guy that's interesting to see. Devon Vele looked absolutely insane to end the season before he suffered his injury. Jordan Tyson still ramping up from his injury. So that is a battle to watch when those guys are in the field. You need those guys to be on the field, and that's kind of been the problem. I'm actually going to shift over to tight end specifically just because I want to talk about Oscar Delp and see what Oscar Delp can turn into. The talk about Oscar Delp coming out of the draft, it kind of like came out of nowhere, right? We talked about Oscar Delp when we did our mock drafts and such, and we were like, this guy's really good. He hasn't had the production, but he's got the abilities. And then after he's drafted, you see some places steal of the draft, the next George Kittle, this high praise for a third-round pick. And you know what? It takes a lot to get a third-round pick, and we saw how the league valued tight ends coming out this year, but it takes a lot to earn a third-round pick after logging just 200-something yards, right? So the Saints obviously see something in him, and I'm looking at the depth chart right now. Now, he's your tight end 3 behind Juwan Johnson, who's probably going to stay your tight end 1, right? And they signed Noah Fant. I don't know if he's going to, you've got Oscar Delp. He looks good in training camp. That's where the battle, I think, begins, right? Because he is a receiving tight end as well, a guy that can catch passes. Oscar Delp, another guy that can catch passes, and I want to see that battle. I want to see how the Saints utilize Oscar Delp, because this is a guy that kind of reminds me of, don't take this too literal, when Adam Trotman came out, we kind of heard the same thing, and that clearly didn't work out the same way, and it's kind of the same situation. Adam Trotman, we were like, oh my God, we got a superstar tight end coming out of the draft, another guy that had that athleticism. Oscar Delp is kind of that same thing. Played against a little bit better competition, had a little less production, but a guy that I want to see who has that talent, has that ability to take over. Now it's how much can he produce with it in the system.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the tight end battle because I'm not, again, I keep saying a position battle, just more the group, because and when we were talking about that extra position, like I do think there's going to be 4 players. I think it's going to be Juwan Johnson 1, Noah Fant 2, Oscar Delp 3, and then Maliki 4th. Like I think that's going to be the group. And Miliki Matavayo didn't really show us a lot last season. But again, it's his rookie year and he was a 7th rounder. I'm not going to like the fact he's still on the roster. I mean, the amount of times I said, hey, I was kind of questioning why I was on the roster. Clearly, this coaching staff likes him. So I think that's going to possibly get him into that group because there's going to be personnel groups that all 3 tight ends are on the field or 2 tight ends are on the field. And that's kind of where the game's going. And I do believe the Saints are going to do that. And Oscar Delp is the best tight end blocker on the team right now. I mean, they're not the same tight ends because Darnell Washington's a massive man, but he is basically another offensive lineman. He just got paid. Like, that's kind of not the role I could see Oscar Delp kind of in because he's such a good blocker. And he didn't have a lot of stats receiving the ball in college, but I mean, I think his potential is like excellent. And although he might not show it this year because he is number 3, in my opinion, I could easily see him get like 4 touchdowns this season just from being there.
Mm-hmm. Like Georgia's offense for tight ends is just so dysfunctional. You saw even when they had like Brock Bowers, he still wasn't being used to the best of his abilities and still wasn't the primary option. They just don't know how to use him. So I think fans could be in for a lot of surprise when Delp surpasses his collegiate production this year. I wouldn't be entirely shocked to see that. So I definitely think he's going to be one that will shine through training camp. Teams are going to be, or the NFL or someone's going to be tweeting, how did this guy fall to the 3rd round? When they see him toasted linebacker in coverage or something like that. So I think that's definitely someone to watch and someone that I'm expecting to kind of a breakout campaign.
Yeah, this rookie class is really fun because I think in preseason it's going to be really good to watch because you have Oscar Delp, Bryce Lance. I don't know how much Jordan Dyson's going to play in preseason, but
please don't play him.
Yeah, don't but TJ Hall, like you have a lot of players that I think can make real impact during preseason. I mean, we saw Jonas Sinker get the pick in preseason last year and then step out of bounds, but they called the game. But you saw these kind of big plays and then you kind of got a hint of what they could be. I think the Saints draft class has a lot of players that could do that this year. And Oscar Delp's probably besides Bryce Lance and Jeremiah Wright. But Oscar Delp and Bryce Lance are like my 2 that I cannot wait for preseason to see what they can do because it could be like, oh, you just did that. We're shutting you down for the rest of the preseason. We know what you are. So
get ready for the Devin Neal 200-yard rushing game in the first week. 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, shutting them down. That's our running back 1.
That's going to be in first quarter too.
Yeah.
First quarter, 200-yard game. Yeah, and I'm excited for preseason. We're approaching, right? We're two months away. We've got a little bit coming up. The football season's going to hit like a little bit of a period right here. It's kind of been in that right now, right? Where what are we talking about? Controversy probably. And that's going to be a lot of it. It's going to be the Olave contract, when he getting paid, Alvin Kamara when he's getting paid. I'm so excited to hopefully soon, or not hopefully soon, we know when it's going to be. I'm so excited to start talking football, start talking what's looking impressive, this and that. Get out of this controversy, get out of this. No, this guy should be on the roster. I can't wait till we know who's on the roster, what's going on. Get put all that behind us. Just watch some football. I don't care if I'm watching the 22 7th rounders on a field at once, man. Just put some minute football in front of me so I can start talking about that. I'm sure we all feel that way. We're all ready to get there. We're all ready to put this controversy stuff behind us. And I'm ready to watch some Tyler Shuck football, let's be honest. But with that, we're probably going to be ending the episode here, right? Anybody else, any final says before we go ahead and drop this one? All right, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We're coming up on 50 episodes. It's been awesome. I can't wait for next season. I can't wait to talk football with you guys one more time. One more time. Wow. A lot of more times, hopefully. With that, it's in this episode. Appreciate everybody.